vibes only. God 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 vibes only.
vibes.
Thank you for tuning in to the Push It Forward Podcast Network. I'm your humbled executive producer, Harut, and this is the Cosmic Convos podcast. On Cosmic Convos, Brother Ra and myself gets into how to utilize sidereal astrology as a powerful organizing tool for your life. Whether you're talking about starting a family, getting married, raising children, starting a business, going into a new career, what career you need to choose, and a whole host of other topics relevant to everyone's life. All right. Make sure you check us out on Patreon, where we release exclusive content to all of our patrons, and you get the opportunity to directly interact with us and ask questions and even help us determine the shows that we cover on our weekly podcast. All right. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy.
You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation. The place where stars and minds align.
Peace. You are now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humble host, Harut, and I got my good brother here, Brother Ra. How you doing?
Brother, enjoying these summer months, enjoying this beautiful weather we have. And how about yourself, man?
Man, likewise, man. Likewise, man. I know y'all ain't as hot as we are down here in Atlanta, man. Last week we had a day that was like 105 degrees, 110 degrees.
We don't get that. We get it, but not that often around these hills. Plus, it's dry heat. Y'all got that humid heat, so you know how it is.
Man, it's pretty dry here too, you know.
Is it?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it's like no breeze. It's just dead air. It's just heat, dead air, no wind. You know, I'm glad I'm built the way I am because I could take it. But man, if you got a heat aversion, summertime in the ATL ain't for you.
Yeah, it's the South. Y'all in the South, so you know you get that heat, man. I'm in the Midwest, so we don't get it. You know, it ain't popping like that around here.
Yeah, man. I mean, like even like in Ohio, like in Cleveland, when you get that lake breeze, that good Lake Erie breeze, that them Great Lakes, you know what I mean, coming off, but not here. You know what I'm saying?
Not even close.
Miami's good because Miami always has a breeze. You know, South Florida is good, but Atlanta, it's tough. It's rough
Trap
out here.
heat.
Indeed. But you know, before we get too far, I want to remind you all, make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you can know when we're going live. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group, Caliprusia Astrology, and our good people over there on Patreon. Big up to y'all. Big up to y'all. Or whatnot. If you want to find us on other outlets and on the website, you can follow us on Instagram at Cosmic Convo. That's COSCONVO on Instagram. From there, you can get to the Push It Forward Instagram page and website. You can get to my personal Instagram profile and everything like that or whatnot. Brother Ra, how can the people get a hold of you?
You can definitely get at me on Facebook or IG via Shechem Raw, or you can even find me on Facebook at Caliprusia Astrology. You can also find me at caliprusiaastrology.com, or you can get at me at on caliprusiaastrology at gmail.com, or you can even find me on Twitter, right, at Caliprusia Astrology. So website, Facebook, IG, we're all around now. We're pretty much we're in the fold. So if you want to get at me, just give me a ring.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Yeah, man. Definitely hit up Rob, man, for them classes and them consultations and whatnot. You know, get yourself right. You know, put yourself ahead of the pack by knowing what's what. You know what I'm saying, or whatnot. So we're here at episode. This is episode 20, right? Yeah, episode
Yeah.
20 of season 5 or whatnot. We were supposed to have this last week, but last week was a monster. So my apologies for that or whatnot. But we definitely gonna get you right this week with an excellent topic. Something that we've been kind of astrology can be a little tricky sometimes because you have a news cycle, right? So then you got a whole bunch of people that come and just talk a whole bunch of this just off opinion and different things like that. With astrology, sometimes you kind of want to look at it a little bit. It's unless you already had some like previous engagement with a chart or something like that, sometimes it might be a little difficult to just jump out there, and especially us, kind of our brand and what we do. We kind of we don't want to jump out and just say things and not know what we're really talking about. We try to work with the best information at hand. Even with Kevin Samuels, there was a date discrepancy, but we wouldn't have known that, right? That was something that you'll only find out, in the event that somebody transitions and you realize that they actually, there's a more accurate date out there and stuff like that. So, we try to go with the best information at hand. And, if you saw the thumbnail, you see what the title of this particular episode is. We want to talk about this young thug, YSL, state of Georgia RICO case or whatnot, because it's very interesting. A lot of implications that, really, expand outside of, just, young thug himself. But it kind of, could point at some things that could be happening in hip hop in general. So, we definitely kind of took our time, looked at it a little bit, and I think, we're in a good space to kind of talk about it a little bit more. What you think, Rob?
Yeah, definitely. We're in a good position to examine a few things and come to some understandings about this whole scenario that Mr. Williams finds himself in currently. I sent you an actual email to R.I.C.O. Let me know if you got it, because there's actually some video footage we could take a look at, maybe even get some understanding from a little bit more objective point of view.
Talk about from his hearing.
Yeah, bond hearing.
I actually, I had it queued up, but let me see what you got. All right, so you go ahead and jump into that.
Yeah, let's. If you can, we jump to 9 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't have to listen to stuff that really doesn't pertain to what we're talking about.
Okay.
That would give us a little clue about how this case is being reviewed and why he actually
This is
doesn't.
an iPhone 11
doesn't
Pro
have a
from
bond.
back.
Go ahead. You keep on. Go ahead. Can you hear me? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, that was just an ad. You keep going.
So right around 9 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The judge explains the reason why he's not being given a bond, and interestingly enough, right? We kind of were talking about it, and we'll talk about it here in just a minute. But this is, what has happened previous to his incarceration as to what they are kind of making the case as far as his particular um, absence of a bond. And bonds usually are given even to high profile individuals, but when the judge, right, tries to substantiate it with certain reasons, then you can listen to those reasons and apply it to the nature of the case. So in that particular video that we we have up here, we're going to look at the judge, is giving his final summation, right, of what is happening and why he feels, right, um, Mr. Williams is not eligible for a bond.
All right. Let's get this set up real quick.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that the way this case has been happening. When we talk about what he's going through in his life cycle, his chapter of life, or what we call Dasha scheme, it kind of makes sense as to what is happening here. But when we listen to it, it should be a dead giveaway. In fact, it's kind of interesting because I heard it and I was like, wow, Thug, young Thug. And you got to be careful out here with what you say and how you say it, because they're listening and they're watching it. They got hip hop police out here. They got the the people that get paid to just listen to lyrics. You know what I mean? Just sit up there and all they do is just listen for cases and things like that, and names and dates and times, and then they corroborate it. So this is what we're about to hear right here in just a second. Yeah, right around 9, a little bit, like even maybe 8:50. Maybe you can hear his conversation. Yeah, that's good.
Those particular discussions, in particular, the proffer from the people that the state has talked to already, the group chat that from 2015 starting, anybody goes into a courtroom and tells God honest truth, they'll be fucking killed, pardon me for the language, and this threat is still being talked about. So that is of a concern to the court in regards to the danger to or threats to persons in the community. So and factors poses no significant arrest of intimidating witnesses or otherwise obstructing the administration of justice. That is the court's concern. The two major concerns that this court has is danger to persons and threats to intimidate other witnesses and obstruct the administration of justice. So I have some concerns about the flight that I share with Judge Wolf also indicated, but and I'm not going to hold it against him that he is very successful and has significant means, but those two factors in particular, threats to persons in the community or poses significant risk of intimidation,
fair use,
otherwise obstructing administration of justice. The court has considered a number of the predicate statements, and for those reasons in the aggregate, I'm going to deny bond at this time. But Mr. Adams, Ms. Hornsby, and Mr. Steele, certainly if you should file any other additional motions or things change, I certainly will reconsider the court's position on bond. It is not lost on me that I have not given your client a bond, but that is my decision based upon what I have heard, and I certainly appreciate your advocacy on behalf of your client, all of the lawyers thus far who have advocated very well for their clients in this particular position. And I will do my level best to make sure that this case gets tried as expeditiously as possible. And if I can get it on the calendar before the 9th of January, I will endeavor to do so. So, anything else at this point in time?
One thing, Judge.
Yes.
And so I know the court file sent an email to, I think, the public defender's office concerning getting defendants who are presently unrepresented representation. We wanted to.
All right. So, folks, that's just a excerpt from Young Thug's bond hearing. Okay. And as Ra was, saying, we were kind of talking about this beforehand, and basically, for those, let's give some background, right? Because some people might not know. I mean, we have a diverse audience, varying from all different age groups and different things like that. So they might not even know who we're talking about or or anything like that. But Young Thug is an Atlanta rapper, young guy, whatnot. One of the probably one of the most successful rappers in the hip hop sector of the music business right now. And he has been recently, arrested under a state RICO case. A racketeering charge is what he's receiving for being, he's being accused of being a gang leader of a violent, criminal gang in Atlanta that goes by the name of R.I.C.O. And, they cite, I mean, if we had time, or not even if we had time, I don't know if that'd be a good use of our time to play the whole thing. But, in that same hearing, you could, hear the defense talk about, various different crimes and different things like that that's happened in Atlanta over, a certain period of time. And the state is crediting Young Thug's, YSL organization as being a part of being the culprits behind a lot of those situations. So that's what lands Young Thug in jail at the moment now or whatnot, and prior to us coming on and stuff like that, me and Roz kind of talking about the significance of it. But I think, when we start bringing up the chart, it'll come a little clearer whatnot. We'll engage in that a little more. But, like I was saying earlier, I mean, this has a lot of, this is actually kind of a landmark case, because if you heard the judge, he's citing, rap lyrics, right? This is something new. In fact, there's I believe Jay-Z, his organization just, I don't know if it's on a federal level or on a New York state level, but they've gotten a law passed that you can't use rap lyrics against somebody in court or whatnot. Of course, there's certain stipulations that, but they've gotten a law passed on that. I have to look and see if it's a New York state law or it's a federal kind of situation that they got going on or whatnot. But this is kind of a little different. Because I mean, rappers been saying stuff like that forever, whether they meant it or not, right? I mean, like
that was from a group chat,
right? They used both, but when he made,
they got both. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they used both, right? Mm-hmm. But they're talking about basically violence against, officers of the law. Different, positions within the legal system, judge, all these different things. I can't tell you how many rappers I heard say, do something XYZ to the judge. I'm what 50 Cent said, if I catch another case, I'm a kill Giuliani. You understand what I'm saying? Whatnot. Interesting enough, Giuliani is kind of like the architect of the RICO law. Yeah, he's kind of the architect of it, because he was can't remember who he was at the time, but he's the one who helped architect that for the mob or whatnot. So he's credited with that. Mayor Giuliani.
Interesting.
Indeed. But yeah, so it's an interesting situation, interesting case. A lot of people are tuning into it. And when you see these chart, this chart and the different things that's happening and stuff like that, it might blow your mind a little bit. So,
Definitely.
what's your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, rap lyrics are one thing. Like you said, I've heard Tupac. I mean, you could go down the list, and they've made certain statements against the government, against. I mean, Ice-T had a song,
Cop killer.
"Cop Killer." I mean, NWA, F the police. Right? That's the nature of hip hop in the sense of gangster rap. So, it's not unheard of. But you gotta, this is the thing that we live in a day and age where everything is being watched, everything's being listened to, everything is being recorded. So when you're on these social media sites or when you think that you've got a lockdown with your iPhone, right? You got these groups that you can. I mean, there's an old saying that real gangsters move in, real killers move in silence, right?
Silence. Yeah.
That's told some truth to it. Um, back in the day, you didn't have these types of means where, you know, I mean, you went to a payphone, right, to make a phone call, and then you had coded talk, right? You had certain words you wouldn't, it just nowadays, I
Speaking of
guess it's
that, uh, there's some good VPNs that you need to use. Your phone and on your computer, or any desktop devices or laptop devices. I want to shout out. Well, yeah, they could. NordVPN, y'all need to hook us up with an ad so we can get some money off of y'all. But that's a good one that people can. It's a free promo because
yeah,
they're tracking
yeah,
everything.
it's self indictment.
Hmm.
It's self indictment. A group chat and you say something about and you could have been we can even go back to the 6ix9ine case, right? 6ix9ine, they got all kind of stuff recorded, right?
Hmm.
All kind of stuff. That's why can't remember the fella's name, the head, not the head,
Shoddy.
but one Shoddy. Yeah, he's in there now, right? Because they said we're gonna vote, and here's the thing, even what's your boy's name? Bird Gang. Not Bird Gang, is it Bird Gang? Uh, so many rappers out. Um,
Jim Jones.
Jim Jones, yeah,
Yeah.
he needs to be super violated, right? All this stuff is recorded. It's not like you're gonna get away with this over the phone, or I mean, technology nowadays, it's so easy for them to grab that out the ethers. It's nothing. It's nothing. So, you know, you gotta be careful if you're out here doing things that you shouldn't be doing. You can't be even in a playing manner, even in a facetious manner, even in a manner that says, you know what, I didn't really mean it, right? But you said it, right? So this is where they got him caught, right? Lyrics, like you said, it's really hard to pin that because I could have been rapping and it's entertainment. You know what I mean? It is. It's entertainment. How many
Right.
times if someone says something just in entertain, it's like a movie. You can't pull that, and that makes sense for them. The New York State, prosecuting office, you can't use that. But when you make a statement, right, and even if you're playing, you just can't do that. Not nowadays, right? You have to be really astringent on how you use this social media stuff. So a lot of guys get caught up that way. You know, doesn't matter from east to west, north to south, right? You got guys, and here's the craziest thing to me. This is I don't know if you about you, but they have guns on the videos. Who does that? Like, you got they can look at the caliber and say, yeah, that's a 40 cal, that's a 50 cal, that's a 4.5, that's a 9, that's a 3. I don't know. It just it boggles my brain to sit there and you got a gun in your hand on camera, pointing it as if to say, I'm going to use it against the ops, right? It's, it's self-indictment. Let's just say this. They make their job real easy, right?
Right.
They don't leave a lot for the imagination, right? So, this case is definitely one that if Young Thug has done some things, and I'm not saying he's innocent, but let's just say, for example, if he's done anything in the sense of ordering or mandating or requiring something be exercised, and you've made the statement on a social media or group chat, it's going to be very difficult to get into a position to show that you're not guilty of at least making a statement of such. Maybe you didn't do anything personally. And, I don't think Young Doug was out doing drive-bys. I mean, I don't think he's been out, really doing, and, it's just, it's association. Really what it is association. It's not saying that he's guilty. It's just he's associated. You know, if you, like, I'm down with, such and such crew, right? You never maybe have lifted a finger. Maybe you didn't even care to say anything about it, but because of the association, right? That's how RICO acts. That's how RICO works, right? It's the associative process. All birds of a feather flock together. So this is where he's going to have to fight his case, and to prove that he is not associated, nor is he affiliated, nor even if he's affiliated, nor does he doesn't command or make any decisions. And so, as we were talking about, me and this good brother talking about earlier, they've been watching this since 2011. That's a long time to be watching somebody, right?
And we're about to show you why.
Exactly.
Objectively, why.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a long time, right? You know, most criminal cases for RICO, it doesn't really take that long, right? Unless it's a larger framework of what they're trying to pin down on a lot of individuals. I don't think YSL, was it Young Slime Life or something like that, right?
I think it's either Young Slime or they use Young Stoner Life as well.
Okay, got a couple of epithets in there.
But see, and that's one thing that might assist him, because number one, that's the name of his record label. It's an actual.
It might assist him, and it might hurt him, depending on how they set it up. Because
Yeah, I mean, because it's an official company, a LLC in Georgia, Young Stoner Life Entertainment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got paperwork. See, he had a very prominent hip hop executive, Kevin Lyles, and they're advocating on his behalf at that same hearing right there. So, I think one thing that it does bring into question, and I think this is kind of happening on a bunch of different areas. There's a lot of cases where this is coming up, where, it's kind of almost on a constitutional level where, like you just said that, Young Thug is going to have to prove that he's not XYZ, but really the burden of proof is on the state. The burden of proof is on the state to prove that he is. You're supposed to be maintained innocent. And let's prove
right. Supposed to be is the key word, right?
Right, but see, that's I mean, like, and I think what's happening is, and I mean, we even seen it with the Johnny Depp case, or different things like that. I think in recent years, the legal system has been kind of, been getting away with not staying true to its. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, always have, but I'm talking about like kind of in a different type of way.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Been getting away without sticking to those core principles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're seeing it kind of being up to question. I think this is one of those cases that's going to test that core principle. Indeed, because you got to prove that he's the gang leader. You understand? You have to prove all these different things. Yeah, he has the most money. he's the most successful, you know. But what? Yeah, yeah, how do you prove that? You understand what I'm saying? You take any rapper that's from a neighborhood that becomes the most successful, you can call anybody a gang leader at that point.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. I mean, and if you're from that life or from that, you're connected to that, you know, group in any way, right? I mean, how many, Ice Cube, you know, if you look at the West Coast, you got um you got Dub C, right? I mean, these
Mm-hmm.
are real legitimate Crips, right? But Ice
Right.
Cube's not a Crip, right? He never been a Crip, right?
Right.
They're connected. I mean, West Side Connection. He's connected to real criminals, right? Real thugs. Young Thug, right? I mean, his name Young Thug, right? But he may not have ever done any of those things, right? But because of the connection and the bond, right? You almost have to walk that thin line. You know what I mean? You have to walk that thin line. You can say and do, but don't. You can portray, but don't do, right? You can act, but don't fulfill. So that's the thin line, and I'm pretty sure, thinking about it, he may be able to substantiate that, right? He may be able to show, look, this is my thing this is the thing that I do. This is, my hip hop and my lyrics, but I'm not out here doing that stuff, and I can't control people that do it in the name of YSL. That's what he can substantiate, right?
Right.
Provided again that he's been intelligent enough and smart enough to not put himself in position to say or to imitate or to even give the idea of, what I'm saying, any type of nefarious activity. Because once that happens, and you, like you said, it's legitimate company, it's legitimate, it's real, then you're gonna have to really, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting case, to say the least. Because we talk about his kind of chart here in a minute. It's gonna be a fight. It's not gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a cakewalk. I don't think it's gonna be him just making a statement. Hey, it's not me. They're gonna have to go and show and really prove that he's not in any way, shape, form, or fashion tied into those activities. Maybe tied into people. That happens, but not tied into the activities. Not a part of the conglomerate, which they would consider as a gang. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's gonna be an interesting fight for his life, because if he's looking at a major time, right? Not looking at a couple years. He's not looking at 5 to 10, right? He's looking at a good chunk of his life. And the thing about it is, once you're gone, you know, um, remember
He's
what's
looking
your
at 3 to 10.
boy's name? He's in 3 to 10.
Yeah, I mean, that if he gets convicted of the RICO, that's what in the state of Georgia, that's what it
They got
carries,
gun
three to
charges on
ten.
him too, right?
Yeah, but I think he's gonna get a lot of that stuff's not gonna stick. The one that they're trying to pin him with is that RICO charge,
Is that
you
RICO
know,
charge? Right,
and
right.
that holds 3 to 10. I mean, and for state RICO, not a federal
State, right? It's
RICO.
not Fed, right? It's not
Right.
Fed.
It's Fed, but it's not Fed, but it's a Fed like, because I mean a lot
Hmm.
of people. I didn't realize that people didn't know that states have Bureau of Investigative
Yeah, yeah. GBI.
agencies, just like what I mean, just like the FBI. There's state ones as
They got
well.
the GBI. They got the CBI. It blew my
Right.
mind. I couldn't
Hmm.
believe. I was like, that's because you know it looks kind of fake. You know what I mean? Like the CBI. I was like, oh, who is that?
Play
Oh,
with
they're
them if you
real.
want.
They're real, right? But they're really real, right? When you get a
Yeah.
letter from the CBI investigation party, right? Something going on, right? Something you don't want to be going on, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
GBI, same thing, right? And I mean, you see a lot of these kind of like when they post, you know, high profile stuff, or you'll see the GBI sitting there amongst the FBI and all the other kind of BIs and the alphabets and all that. You know what I mean? So it is pretty interesting that they are very real. But Young Thug is, well, let's just pull his cards. Let's pull his chart up to really take a look. Let's do that.
All right.
So we got Mr. Jeffrey here, Mr. Williams as Aries ascendant, right? Aries ascendant, and you know, interestingly enough, Aries can be a little a little impetuous, right? A little impetuous. Can do things, in an instant, and then maybe, you know, hindsight is always 2020. But
Right.
do things that are not, intelligible or well thought out. And this may be some of the things that he's experiencing right now to teach him some serious lessons about looking deep before you leap, right? Um, he's been in a Saturn dasha since 2011, and it's interesting, as we were
Very
stating,
interesting. Yeah.
right? This is when they began to watch Mr. Williams.
Right.
So, watching from 2011, Saturn is, for all intents and purposes, for an Aries ascendant, a highly, highly malefic planet, right? It rules the 10th house, right, which is a Kendra house, right? But it also rules a Trisha Daya house, which in Trisha Daya houses are considered evil. Well, here's the thing: Kendra, the 10th house, is the most powerful Kendra, right? And the most powerful Trisha Daya is the 11th. So these are the rules that kind of are laid down by Parashara and understanding functional malefics and functional benefics. And for Aries ascendant, Saturn is a functional malefic. Not only that, the direct relationship that Saturn has with Aries ascendant is that it is debilitated in Aries. So this also adds fuel to the fire. Not only that, because it sits in the 10th, right? It does give it more power or more active ability to produce, right, these type of karmic, um, struggles. But directly in opposition to it, he has the sun in the fourth, and the sun is enemy to Saturn. So these things are definitely, right, kind of a telltale that, when Saturn runs its course in the life chapter, or what we call dashas, right, it's going to produce some very interesting things. Now, Saturn as a planet, right, it's not overnight, it's not instant. It takes its sweet time, right? And because it takes its time, you know, it works things up, it builds, it constructs, or destroys, depending on how it's placed. For him, it definitely gave him a lot of prominence and power. That's for sure.
Right.
Being in the 10th house, right? So, there's no overnight successes. It appears to be, but there really isn't. Um, I know because he's, Harut's from Georgia, so he heard about Young Thug before I did. I didn't hear about him until 2000, probably 13, 2014. But the thing about Young Thug, he definitely
Correction. I'm
has,
from Ohio. From Ohio. I live in Georgia. All nobody
right,
kill
by
me.
way of Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Um, um, you know, Young Thug has a very checkered type of perception. Um, Young Thug has been known for wearing dresses.
Yeah.
You know, um, known for portraying himself as um, some very I don't say questionable, but unorthodox, right, types of and it was for a brief time. And I think a lot of that was for clickbait. A lot of it was for to get attention. I don't think Young Thug by any means has any type of um, dealings or kind of maneuvers as a um, part of the LGBTQ community, right? But right, I mean, when you have a hip hop artist, and it's funny that this happened because I was watching the Boondocks the other day, right? The Boondocks kind of paints a picture of a guy, wearing different things that would be considered effeminate. But this is what he's known for, right? He's kind of known for being, you know, um, one that is eclectic or kind of different in his approach, but still a thug, right? Some of his lyrics, some of his songs are very catchy. I've heard, them. I've never bought it or considered to purchase any of his music, but because it's out there and because it's, fairly popular, I've heard a few songs, and they're pretty good songs in the sense of his genre or his type of hip hop. But all in that being said, right, that Saturn ruling the 10th in the 10th, right, taking him to a certain level of notoriety and fame is definite, or for fame, but now notoriety has definitely given him, kind of a center stage to be placed on. But this is where things get interesting, right?
Right.
Saturn is one that, like I said, it takes his time. It's not going to do things overnight. Right? He got to the height of his career, right? 10th house, right? Through perseverance, through keeping it going, through you know making sure that he does things to become a household name, and he's done that. But because Saturn is in a specific position, Saturn number one is in a particular nakshatra that is not necessarily not friendly or frustrating for, but the planet that rules it is the sun, right? Which is considered an enemy to the planet in which tenants it. So Uttara Ashada is where it's placed, and the way we kind of do this is we look to see these interconnections, right, as to where things would go or how things would be placed. So for the most part, for the first 10 years of his Saturn dasha, he did very well. He's had no bumps. He had a few things that he was accused of, but for all intents and purposes, nothing really triggered or transpired, because again, Saturn takes time. But it's interesting to note that they did make a statement that they have been watching him since his career began, right? That's very interesting, right?
Right.
Uttara Ashada means the later victory, right? Purva Ashada is the early victory. Uttara Ashada is the later victory. So if you're having these types of issues with the government per se, which is what the state of Georgia is the government, right? Then you have someone watching you, right? They're putting the pieces together. Oh, we can't get that one. And he was accused. It was, I don't know if it was in 2014 or 15. There was a little beef between him and yeah, a Little Wayne, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he was connected to Birdman, right? And kind of did that little kind of connection thing, or I don't know if he was on his label, but he was definitely doing some hip hop with him. And there's a conjecture or accusation that he shot up, or had Lil Wayne's uh, tour bus shot up. Right. These are things that when we talk about building the case, or Saturn, producing these effects, right? It's taking them time. It takes that agency time to build, you know, something that they could accuse him of and to incarcerate him by. But now, when we look at these particular periods, every single planet that has interacted with Saturn has a very strong connection to the fifth house in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, according to what most of you may think or know if you've studied this science for a little while, the fifth house is supposed to be this great grandiose house, right? That, it's a trine house and it substantiates your spirituality and all those types of things. But this is part of the truth. When we look at things from what we call a Bavam or house derivative perspective, this is where the secrets of astrology begin to appear. And that the fifth house, if you count from the 10th, right, is 8 away. So you count the house that is actually you're starting from. So 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 8, meaning that it is a fall or a change of position from power, right? And this is where we're seeing him at this point in time, because this is when, and we were just talking about it. I, in my estimation, really gauged that the government or the state had their case nailed right at the end of his Saturn Sun Dasha, right? And that Sun is in opposition and it rules the fifth house, right? So this means that at that point, this is when they say, you know what, we finally got something on him. We've got something we could use, whether it be a conversation. And, the thing also is that he's having a lot of issues with, those affiliates with this particular YSL group. They're running their mouth, right?
You
So,
know, when you mention that, you know, there's something interesting about in Atlanta that might not be in certain other cities in regards to how certain activity happens, right? So
mhm.
like in Atlanta, you might get robbed by somebody that's driving like a Lamborghini.
Right, right,
You know what I'm saying? Like, you might see a drive by and somebody with a Porsche. You know what I'm saying? A Bentley or something like that. Not so much a Bentley. Usually something that's fast, right? Or
right.
whatnot. So, there was a case that happened, believe it might have been last year, or a situation that happened last year with a rapper by the name of Sahai the Prince,
I heard
where
about that. Yeah.
yeah, he was shot. You understand what I'm saying? Shot down, not shot down. He didn't get hit, but he got shot off. A major expressway here in the Atlanta area by somebody I believe, in a Lamborghini or
Wow.
whatnot. You know what I'm saying? They cops believe it's mistaken identity. So when you say what you say about them having it locked, I think it might have a lot to do with that type of thing.
Right,
You understand what I'm saying?
right.
These certain things that are happening in the city. I mean, like we're talking about like Phipps Plaza shootouts.
Hmm. Hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Or
Yeah, that's
whatnot.
major. That's major. Well, powers that be, and like you said, this gentrification thing, they don't take kindly to that. You
Right.
know, it's not something that they, can turn a blind eye to when you have potential, quote unquote citizens being endangered. So, I think this is where it's leaning into, like you said, and they're really trying to make an example of Young Thug to send a message out to, you know, because Atlanta is full of hip hop. I mean, it is the mecca, right, for black entertainment. And
Right.
so, it makes sense for them to use a high profile individual like Young Thug, right, with a name that, kind of rings true to, what that lifestyle is all about, to use him in a manner that can send out a message to say, hey, we're looking and we definitely want to get you. And we will if you're sloppy, if you're careless, if you act first and think later. And, Aries will do that, right? Aries will make those mistakes. And, you know, they learn, right, by touching the fire, right? Right. They're not the ones that can say, hey, it's hot. don't touch it. They like, I don't care. What's heat? Oh, that's heat, right? And Saturn, right, is that planet to do that, right, for Aries ascendant. It is in a powerful position nonetheless. So, it's gonna give, and it's also gonna take away if you're careless, right? Saturn is the planet that makes you think, that makes you look deep before you look, that makes you take assessment of your actions, that makes you say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do that, or maybe I should do that, right? So this is what Jeffrey's experiencing, and his ascendant Lord is 8 away from Saturn, right? So if we make Saturn the ascendant, right, then we can see possibly a little bit more about what we might be expecting for this case and what Jeffrey might be dealing with in the scheme of things, right? Because this is what we do. You make one of the tricks of the trade. I don't say tricks, but techniques rather. Is you make the dasha lord the ascendant lord, right? And then Saturn is going to be the lead. So we look at it from that position. Every planet. Can you switch that for us, brother, to put that Capricorn as the ascendant?
Hold up.
There we go. So now you can see that Saturn, right, is the ascendant. And looking at it from this perspective, look at these placements. Now, here you got to consider friendships to the planet itself, right? Sun is an enemy, right? So we had that dasha bhukti recently. That's when the bridge from that sun to moon, he was incarcerated, right? And remember, folks, whenever these minor periods change, life what? Life changes, doesn't it? This
Yeah,
is how you
absolutely.
know that something is transpiring, and you know it's not going to be an easy cakewalk because this trigger, this change, has instituted his incarceration. Right?
Right.
Now, this also playing out, you look at himself as the individual as Mars. Now he's in the matrix of Saturn. He's in the world of Saturn. He's in this right kind of paradigm, mini paradigm that his life is presented. So he himself is feeling something, and you want to know how it feels. Where you would look to see where Mars is from the ascent, from that Saturn as the ascendant, and it's in the eighth house, right? This is another telltale, right? The eighth house is a house that definitely can present some unexpected, unwarranted, sudden events, right? Such as, right, incarceration. Now, now this Saturn Sun Dasha didn't kick it off, right? Didn't kick it off, but Saturn Moon does. Why? Moon is the 10th from Saturn. So
Right.
well, that shouldn't do it, right? What does that do? How does that? Because that's the 10th house. That should still be him being in the player's field, right? Not necessarily, because the planet that rules Moon is, guess where? It's
Eighth
in
house.
the eighth house. So this is how it's done. This is how you look at a chart to gauge properly what the person is experiencing through a life chapter. So you got 4 planets in the eighth from Saturn. You got one planet squared Saturn, and you have one planet in opposition to Saturn. None of them are trined. See, the trine would give us a key that he would be able to move through this,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no trines, are there?
Nope.
A trine would give him a key out, a way out, a get out of jail free card, right? Or we'll see you around next time, Mr. Williams. Be careful, right? This is not there. When you look at the ninth from there, which is a judge, right? Judges, and
Mm-hmm.
Saturn is judges, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Look at the ninth from there. What is the Lord of the ninth from that ascendant? It's in the
It's
eighth,
in
isn't it?
Mercury. Yeah, it's in the eighth. Mercury. Yeah.
It's not good, right? Look at Jupiter, right? Jupiter is in Magha, is it not?
Yes.
Right? What is the nakshatra ruler for Magha?
K2.
And where is Ketu from Saturn?
6.
Right? Again, struggles, fights, right? Courts, right?
Right.
Six houses, courts, litigation, right? And the ruler of K2 is where? Back in where?
8th house.
10th house. So again, these are just things that we begin to notice over and over and over. It's called confluence. And we have confluence upon confluence upon confluence, that this is a very trying and arduous time for Young Thug, right? It's not gonna be it's not play, right? This is for real. And
Oh,
as
yeah.
we heard the judge state, we have he is perceiving him as the potential, having the potential to threaten a witness and to obstruct justice. This is now getting to a point where you can realize that if he is exonerated or if he is freed, right, it's going to be through a very painstaking process. Right? There's no ninth house trines, right? The trinal lords, right? The ninth lord trinal, right? And the fifth lord trinal are both in the same position, aren't they?
Yep.
Not a good look. Even when you look at the lords from his ascendant, Jupiter as the trinal lord, right? And Sun as the trinal lord. The Sun is in direct opposition to him, and the trinal lord from his own ascendant is, I guess we're back again, the eighth house. So this is where I'm saying that I don't see him getting out in the immediate right time period. Like you said, this holds this case holds 3 to 10. I thought it held a little bit more. I don't know why I was thinking 20, but if it's a
Because of
3 to 10, right?
federal
Federal
RICO.
is
Yeah.
20, yeah. So if it's a 3 to 10, he may do three, right? He may do 3 to 5 because of no priors, right? No prior record, you can get off a little bit easier. And, it's not a slap on the wrist, but it definitely won't at least inhabit him in the incarceration system for eternity. But I do see that he's going to have to do a little bit of time, or maybe even a little bit of extra, maybe parole, or some serious stuff. That if he makes another mistake, then he could definitely be back in there for a good period of time. So Saturn, Moon definitely is going to be a process where they can necessarily drag out the trial, but maybe retry or appeal, right? And then Saturn, Mars, which is directly an enemy, and it rules him, right? This is also a time period that definitely can foretell some, frustrating um, experiences, right, for Mr. Williams. So this is what I can see in regards to how this chart is being played out. The Navamsha itself, which is the higher path, right, that we take, doesn't bode well either, right? He's got Saturn and Sun again in a conjunct position, and those are enemies. And the government is the Sun, y'all, right? The government is the Sun. Saturn is also government as well too. But when we talk about in relationship to each other, right, the Sun always takes precedence with government, right? So this is a telltale that the restriction, him being a part of the societal, right, fold as Saturn, is in a direct competition or in a animosity with right that particular sun positioning. And then also, guess what? Look, Moon is right there with it. These are two direct enemies to Saturn. Of course, Moon is neutral. A lot of times they say Moon doesn't have any real enemies, but in the grand scheme of things, right? Saturn spoils or curdles, and Moon is milk. right?
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and this is again his fourth lord, home, feeling at home, right? He's complaining about, right? What is he complaining about?
His conditions.
His condi It's right there, right? So, I predict that he may get 2 to 3, right, as a as a punishment if it goes to trial and they can substantiate. And I think they can substantiate some things. Maybe they can't prove that he's the ringleader of a gang that has participated in nefarious acts, but they can definitely show association. That's for sure. And if they've got more records on file, like you said, we talked about discovery, right? We
Right.
don't know what the full discovery is. If they have more things to discovery, and this again has been built over years, right? This is a time when he definitely wants to he have all that money you got, Jeffrey. You need to put it all in a lawyer's back pocket, right? Because you're gonna need that in order to avoid jail time. It is possible, right? I'm not saying it's not possible, but not probable. Right? I think the probability is that he may do a little time in order to kind of, ring the bell of individuals in the city to let, you know, it be said and be known that, this particular, state type of operation is going to take place again and again until they feel satisfied and the good citizens of Atlanta, Georgia feel protected, which that will never happen. But at least to whatever their satisfaction is, right? This is where I predict we'll see Jeffrey playing a role as an example of this type of case.
Indeed, indeed. Got a couple comments here. We got a
Definitely.
brother in here. He says prison asylum is the 12th house, not the 8th house. What's your thoughts on
Right.
that?
What you don't know, right, is
Uh-huh.
that the eighth house also has the potential to, right. See, the 12th house is incarceration. You're right, but you have to look at the respective planets that are ruling. See, you don't necessarily have to be in the 12th house to have 12th house experiences, do you?
No,
Right.
and I already know where you're about to go, but go ahead.
Right. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Drop it.
Well, I mean, the 12th Lord in both scenarios from, using this Dasha period as the ascendant and as his regular Lagna, it's both in the 8th house. Or the
Thank you,
12th
sir.
Lord, the 12th Lord's in the 8th house from the, yeah, from both, from the Dasha perspective. And then the 12th,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm. Why don't we look at it from the moon's perspective? Let's make the moon the ascendant. Check it out. Right. I hear you, Mark. Right. Salute. Right.
Yeah.
I got
Thank you for
you.
tuning in,
We
brother.
got you. That's why we do this. Right. Take a look at the moon. Right. What's the 12th from the moon?
Mercury.
What rules the moon?
I mean, Virgo, but yeah. It's Venus.
Right. What are they conjunct?
Yep.
Incarceration. Now, will it be long stints of incarceration? No, because the eighth house deals in things that are short or that can be quick or over within a certain period of time. So this is where you'll see he'll be incarcerated for a period of time, but not for a lengthy period, right? So appreciate you, Mark. Right, good looking. We definitely got you, right? But no, this the right 12th from the moon and the Lord of the moon, which the person feels, how they perceive, what they're experiencing, right? What their heart's desire is to be, not to deal with 12th house things, but it is. It's there. So from the ascendant, from the moon, and from the Saturn Dasha, all three converge, right? Called that confluence again. Mark, you definitely need to come on in the classes, right? You need to come on and jump on in, bro, right? So we can get you right and tight. But no, this is all showing incarceration, right? In every respect.
Indeed. Big ups to that. Big ups to that. Yeah, man. It's gonna be interesting, but
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
that that's pretty. Looking at it astrologically, and just from just looking at the case and different things like that. I think that's a pretty good expectation.
And I haven't
Good
even thrown
prediction.
transits on there, right?
Oh yeah,
I didn't even
yeah.
put that into the mix, right? Which Rahu is in the ascendant right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's making its way to the exact ascendant degree, right? It's making its way at 19 degrees, right? If I'm correct, right?
His
Let's take a
ascendant lord will
look.
be there next week.
Right, right. At the time when he was incarcerated, which is May, right?
That's right. It's not too far after
There's your
when.
12th house, good brother, right? Right? There's your 12th house right there, right? Mars is in the 12th all day, every day. And his next court date doesn't come up until January. So you see what I'm saying? This is when you can begin to gauge, right, how this works. Transits are, kind of the pulse check of the dashas. The dashas are the ones that really hold the say, and the transits hold the play, right?
And
So
Saturn
this is what, yeah,
and Saturn's backing up back into that 10th house.
absolutely, absolutely, and it'll move back into the 11th, right? But that'll be for the next 2.5 years, and it'll move into the 12th, and then it will be in his ascendant, debilitated after that. So I'm just showing that this is, and K2, right, is gonna move right on over, right, to the 6th house, 12th house access, right?
Let me see something real quick, cause I think I don't know where my little ticker went. You keep on talking, Tough. I'm trying
So,
to pull up.
Jupiter will be in his ascendant next year, right? But it rules the 12th, right? It's in opposition, right, to the moon. So that's what I'm saying. He's gonna do some time. I don't think Jeffrey's gonna just get out. If he gets out, it's gonna be a battle and a fight. I have to appeal, right? You'll have to go through certain processes. So this is what I can see, right? In the next, like I said, in the next year and a half, 2 years, yeah, he's gonna be fighting. He's gonna be
So,
fighting.
that's what I was looking for. So, Saturn backs up back into his 10th house, back into Capricorn, and it
Mm-hmm.
stays there
Mm-hmm.
until January,
12,
yeah, 16th.
16, right? Sometimes some systems will do weird things. Some say 12, 16, but right around in the middle of January, right, it'll be
Right.
changing. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
right around when he has his court date.
Isn't that interesting?
Right.
And guess what dasha he'll be in? He'll be
Saturn,
in
Moon,
Saturn, Moon,
Saturn,
Saturn,
yeah.
right? That moon will be on either side of Saturn. Saturn will be on either side of that moon in the dasha scheme, squeezing the emotional disposition, drying out the emotional, sobering up the reality of things, right? So you see what I mean? And this is again, right? Again, right? It's gonna be in direct opposition to those four planets in the what? 5th house,
Right.
including his ascendant lord. This is not going to be a cakewalk, right? So young thug, lawyer up, buddy. That's the best way you could maybe get a loophole by some slim chance.
He
It's
has a good lawyer.
possible, but not what? Probable.
Probable. He got a good lawyer. He got one of the best in Atlanta for sure.
Yeah. But
The
definitely
guy, I forget his name, but
make sure he
got.
stays paid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because you're going to need him.
Indeed. Big ups to that. As usual, thank you all for tuning in to episode 20 of season 5. Before you leave, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you can know when we're live or whatnot. Rod, you got anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, sir. Just appreciate the comments, right? Definitely always a pleasure to interact with the audience and for them,
Indeed.
make comments. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we sharpen our skills. And you're definitely right. Mr. Edwards, at his it's definitely 12th house is prison. But astrology has many ways to exact realities, and that's how we learn, is by looking at everything from different angles. So good observational eye on that. But always try it from every angle, and then you might see a little bit more than meets the eye. But we definitely appreciate the comments. Awani is always a pleasure, right? 'Cause like you said, she learns something every time she comes in, which you really should be in my classes. You should, right? But I definitely understand how things are rolling for you. But y'all out there, when come on in, right? When you see us go live, come in, right? And let's have some fun. Let's explore these things together so we can really delve into the science and really sharpen our skills.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Pushing Forward Media Group, Caliprucia Astrology, and our good people over there on Patreon. This has been episode 20 of season 5. That is an episode 120 overall. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Be on the lookout for other videos coming out, in the coming days and such like that. And we'll be back with another one of these next week. So definitely stay tuned to that. All right. Without further ado, everybody be safe out there, and we are out. Peace.
Peace.